Hello students, in our vehicle dynamics class, today we will discuss the effect of camber. So first of all, what is camber? Camber is the tilt of the car wheels from the vertical. Camber is of two types, that is positive and negative. The camber is positive if the tilt is outwards at the top. So as you can see in the diagram, if the tilt is outward from the top, then it is called positive camber. But if the tilt is inward from the top, then it is called negative camber. Camber is also called wheel rake. It is always desirable that tires should roll on the ground vertically so that wear is uniform. In actual practice, we want that the tires are completely vertical so that their wear is uniform. If while running the tires are inclined from the vertical, either inward or outward, they will wear more on one side than the other, which is undesirable effect. Negative camber is becoming increasingly more popular because of its visual appeal. Real advantages to the negative camber are seen in handling characteristics. An aggressive driver will enjoy the benefits of increased grip during heavy cornering with negative camber. During straight acceleration, however, negative camber will reduce the contact surface between the tires and the road surface. So as you can see, there is advantage and disadvantage of using a negative camber. It helps in the visual appeal of the vehicle, and an aggressive driver will enjoy heavy cornering with negative camber. But its disadvantage is that it reduces the contact surface between tire and the road. So the positive camber aids steering wheel return after completing the turn. That is, increases straight ahead stability. So actually, positive camber will help in the stability of the vehicle and help in the returning of the steering wheel after completing the turn. Positive camber reduces steering wheel effort. Camber should not generally exceed 2 degrees. Till recently, the trend was to set the camber angle from 0 to slightly positive value to offset the effect of vehicle loading. So positive camber has many advantages over negative camber because it helps in the steering wheel return, it helps in the stability of the vehicle, and it also helps to offset the effect of vehicle loading. Now we will discuss the effect of braking, driving torques on steering. Torque steer effects as a result of changes in normal force. Torque steer effects usually occur during cornering when a driver has to slow down on a wrongly assessed bend by reducing the amount of acceleration or applying the brake. So what happens when you drive a vehicle and there is a sudden bend in the road, then you have to take a turn. But before taking a turn, you might have to slow down your vehicle by applying the brake. So when you apply the brake while taking the turn, there is effect on the vehicle which is called torque steer effect. So what happens when you apply the brake while taking a turn, or we can say what happens in torque steer? The reaction force acting at the center of gravity of the vehicle causes an increase in front axle load with a simultaneous reduction in the load on the rear axle. So when you apply the brake, your load on the front axle increases and load on the rear axle decreases. At an initially unchanged slip angle, the distribution of lateral forces changes as a result. So what happens when the load on the front axle increases, load on the rear axle decreases, therefore your distribution of force also changes. In the case of torque steer effects, owing to reduction in acceleration or gentle braking, the increased lateral force corresponding to the increase in normal force on the front axle results in yawing moment, which allows the vehicle to turn into the bend. So, when you take a turn and you apply a gentle brake, not a sudden brake, so what will happen? The lateral force which increases will help to yawing movement of the vehicle, which actually helps to turn into the bend. But if the adhesion potential is exceeded as a result of fierce braking, but if you apply brake fiercely or suddenly a low force coefficient, the tires are no longer able to build up necessary lateral forces. This results in an over or understeer vehicle response depending on the specific case, be it a loss of lateral force on the front axle or rear axle or both. So when you apply brakes suddenly or fiercely, there is a loss of lateral force and there is a instability of the vehicle, and your vehicle can be overturned, or we can say understeer or oversteer. Now discuss the effect of driving torques. So it is also considered as a torque steer in case of acceleration. So torque steer is the unintended influence of engine torque on the steering, especially in front wheel drive vehicles. So actually in front wheel drive vehicles, there is a unnecessary influence of engine torque on the steering. What happens with this? For example, during heavy acceleration, the steering may pull on one side, which may be disturbing to the driver. So when you press the pedal and accelerate the vehicle heavily, what will happen? Your steering is pulling towards the one side, which is very disturbing. The effect is manifested either as a tugging sensation in the steering wheel or a veering of the vehicle from the intended path. So the result is that your steering wheel will be pulled on one side or your vehicle will be following the path which is not intended by you. Torque steer is directly related to differences in the forces in the contact patches of the left and right drive wheels. So it is also related to the difference of forces in the contact patches of left and right wheels. The effect becomes more evident when high torques are applied to the drive wheels, either because of high overall reduction ratio between engine and wheels, high engine torque, or some combination of two. So what are the root causes of the torque steer, which is the effect of driving torque on the steering? First one is incorrect sidewall ply design, allowing deformation of the tire sidewall. So deformation of tire sidewall because of incorrect side wall ply design is the root cause of the torque steer effect. Asymmetric drive shaft angles due to any combination of unequal drive shaft length or diameter. Transient movement of the engine. There are some sudden movements in the engine due to its improper mounting. We can say tolerances in the engine mount is the main cause. Different drive shaft torques left to right due to wheel bearing or differential problems, worn control arm bushings, unequal traction forces. So these are the root causes of torque steer, or we can say effect of driving torques. So next topic we will cover in our upcoming video. Thank you, students.